Hello and welcome back to Alex Goes Sailing. This episode will be a little different. We've got Scanstrut sponsoring us for a bunch of goodies, as you can see here, from USB chargers to deck seals. It's going to come really handy when kitting out this boat with all of the solar panels and also for the antenna for the VHF. And then also all these USBs are way better than whatever we've had on Merrick previously or Masumi previously. We've just bought the typical standard cheap stuff off Amazon, and those chargers don't really kick out enough juice to keep your phone charging at a decent pace. So when we've got it plugged in, you're running your navionics to record your tracks and things like that. Your phone's eating through a lot of juice and it can barely keep it up with producing. On the last boat we saw roughly an amp and a half charging at most, and these guys can kick out at least 3 amps. So first up we've got this one, nice waterproof outdoors use. It's a type A and type C with a pop latch. And then over here we've got 2 other USB types here, and these are typically for indoor use, typical sockets. And we're going to put these, one over in the nav's desk and then one in this little panel off to the side here, so we've got a place for USBs all over the boat for the most part, apart from up front, which I'm not really concerned about. And then for the deck seals we've got this one, which is for the VHF, which is right up there by the mast, and that allows that VHF cable to pass through and have it nice and sealed, especially because it's in a pretty vulnerable place at the pointing forward on the boat and on the roof. And then here we have 2 seals, one for each side of the boat, and these are specifically more for side panels because you've got 2 wire entries. And what that will allow me to do is have one on each side of the boat to pass through the power cables for the new solar setup for this boat, and they'll be much better than the ones previously. And these ones come out at 90 degrees, so stop the wires poking up and out and diving back down, so we can keep things a bit more flush and neat. Right, I'm going to get to installing some of these now, and you're going to see how I do it. Right, the first one I'm going to be installing is this outdoor USB charger. So if we rip it open, pop it out of the back, it gives you all the specifications on the back here, type A and C. So it's 3 amp max per socket. That's a total of 6 amps of output. And if we unscrew this, it's like your typical ones. Right, so you do get this foam pad you get to seal it up with. There's a screw hole back there, and then what I really like about this is its closing mechanism. So to open it, you just press there and it swings open. Nice and easy. So you see where the cables run out through, nice and protected. You've got this little pack of screws for screwing it in with, so the hardware for it. There's type A and type C, so 3 amps each, so plenty of juice. And then to close it again, instead of clicking there, just click on this backside, locked. Super easy, press again, opens. Right, I'm going to get started installing this one. So the plan to install the USB is actually going to be going in the side here. I think that's the best option, just because if you look around on this side, on the back end, now I can't put it around on this side because it's going to be a bit of a curved surface, so we want to keep it nice flat. And anywhere else mounting, we could mount it on the sides there and there, but I'm thinking if I put it here, we'll have nice easy access to put your phones down on this step up here, and then someone can charge their phone out here with the lead running across. So I thought if we put it there, you might get it tangled with the motor controls, and then if someone wants to charge their phone on the other side of the boat without having to install another socket on this side, you'll have a wire running across interfering with the tiller itself. But I think putting it here is good, because then you also have access to it if you're inside the boat either side, which would be quite a nice benefit of being able to reach it. And it makes it easy to hide, because this is like a removable hidden panel. This like covers it, and it will come out just the underside of here, so it'll be just sat a little bit lower than it is now there, and then we can run the wires out hidden behind this little panel down into wire chase, and then we can run it all the way back underneath and to the electrical panel that we have here. So they'll get hooked up to the accessory, I think. Now Scanstrut actually provide very nice instructions, as you can see. So a bit of a parts list, you'd like tools list of what you're going to need. A cutting template, which is really nice. So you need a 29mm diameter hole drilled, and then a smaller 2.5mm hole drilled for the screw which stops it rotating and twisting. Gives you a little idea of your min and max thickness, how to kind of mark it out, how it all goes together with like an exploded diagram. Really like these exploded diagrams, they're really good at showing how it's done. How to wire it as well, so 24 volt or 12 volt with 12 volt. Right, so I'm just going to get started drilling the right size hole. Now, following the instructions, it says you need to put some silicone around this screw here. I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to use this stuff. This is butyl tape. It's like a grey, you can get it in black and white, but grey is the best stuff. It's like a Play-Doh sealant. So if you just pull a little bit off here, like that, you can see it's like a Play-Doh-like consistency. And you just wrap that around your screw. And if we come over here, if we just whack that through there, you're going to get a lot of squeeze out, but you can remove it after the fact. And then on this underside, I'll just get a little bit around there. Then what I'm going to do is put this little gasket on, and then all we've got to do is fit it in place. And I'm also going to take the little lock nut which goes on the main section, and we're going to screw that on the inside. Alright, then all we have to do is just nip up this one fairly tight. You can just go in there and just peel away the excess butyl tape. Nice and tidy. Just pop that on. Very solid, not going anywhere. Press to open. Then press the bottom to shut, unlock, easy. Then underneath this panel, you can kind of see where that little lock ring screws down on. You've got access to the 2 pins. Right, so with that all fitted up nicely, we can just pop it open, close it. Very solid feeling. We'll run the wires around, chase them around, but I'm going to get started installing these little guys. And I think one's going to go over there. So you've got access to it for the table and the seating area. Then we're going to put one where that hole is there. We can just wire that straight in, very close, because it's so close to all the electrical stuff. And then we can also have access to charging for this kind of seating from there. And then that also allows me to charge all of my camera gear and whatever else at the nav station, which would be quite handy to have. So nice little spattering from chargers on the outside there, which is like fully waterproof, which is really nice. And then one there and one there. So let's open up one of these. Right, so this is called the Flip Pro rather than the Charge Pro, which we've just installed. So USB A and C, and we've got a little diagram on the back, to scale probably. So let's pop this open and look what we got. So instructions again, very simple, there's not much you need for this. Again, that lock nut that goes on the back, the 2 connectors that you need, and then this side has a flip end with a little seal on there, and they do have ratings, and you can see USB-C and USB-A. So for this one you're going to need a 29mm hole, and you can see the minimum and maximum, and then how the little exploded diagram showing how it all goes together with a little seal, how you wire it up to your battery. Don't forget the switch and the fuse. Let's get cracking and install this one. Now this is going to be a bit of an easier install because we've only got to worry about this lock ring. And I'll turn that to the side a bit. This gasket hasn't got a double-sided on it, so it's literally just there. That just slides in that hole. nice snug fit. I like to see. That's on that side, and then we'll go around the other side and insert this little ring. Alright, so we're on the back side now. I'm just going to get that ring and do that up on this side. Make sure it's reasonably tight so it won't move and wriggle and spin when you try and plug things in. Then we've got the two connections here, which we will run power to. So overall, very nice and clean install. Nice little thing that pops up, USB-C, USB-A, nicely put. And you can sit there with your things on charge up to the table, very nice. Now I'm just going to pop the other one in that hole there. Right, so let's get this one installed into this hole. Nice and easy, it's already the right size. Just going to push it in, and I'll reach around the back with the lock nut. Right, that one's mounted in there quite nicely, and perfect access for the USBs. It's going to be very easy to charge things or my camera gear, so perfect. Do have the access holes on either side, but it's not too bad. So what I'm going to do now is hook up all the wires. It's going to be hooked up to this accessory one. That's actually on a 15 amp breaker. I will be adding a fuse in line as well. So the thing to consider is when you've got everything hooked up and running, that 15 amp breaker will blow. So what I'll probably end up doing is getting a 20 amp breaker to replace this one. So the only thing left to do now is calculate my gauge of wire that I'm going to need for the length of my run, because that's going to be quite important. So I'll do a few calculations and we're going to get that wired up. Right, just doing some wiring. We've ran some wire all the way from this side of the boat to here, and that's to power the socket on the outside, and then also the one that's down there. So the way those two are going to be wired together is using parallel. So say one failed or one shorted out or something, you'd still get power to the other one, so it's kind of like a fail safe. So, and it's also a bit easier to wire up. All you got to do is have a little junction where they all join together, and those two will be powered. Now I've also sized the wire correctly. Now to size a wire, I've got this little chart, a pretty common one, and you pick your wire size, you find the length, whether you want it to be a critical voltage drop or not critical voltage drop. Normally I just go with critical because voltage drop just kills everything and it's the worst. And then you've got your little chart on the lengths. So if you've got a run of say 4.6 meters and you've got with these there 6 amps each, that's at least 12 amps. So say we look at the 15 amp chart, we will need for roughly this run, it's between roughly 3 meters, so 12 gauge, and then there's a little conversion on the side here. 12 is equal to a 4 square millimeter wire, and for reference this wire here is about 4 square millimeters. Now I've hooked up these wires twin core, so it's nice easily ran in its own little wire. I've also put these shielded connectors on, so since they'll be sat so close together, if anything ever touches between them it won't matter because they're shielded. So I'm just going to plug these in now and then tuck the wire behind here. Alright, so I have those power leads running from all the USBs, hook them up together, negative, positive, and the positive is going to go on this side here, and the negative is going to go on the negative bar here, and this is the breaker that's going to be used. Right, so that's all hooked up. Got the positive running there, the negative hooked up to here. So when I put this switch panel back in, we should have power running to the USBs here, and then down there, because I wired that one in as well. So it's all plumbed up. So it's only one thing to do, and that's to actually test it. Right, got the switch panel back in, got my phone hooked up with the battery monitor, and I have this hooked up to the USB-C. So if I flick this switch here, starts charging, and we should see an increase on the amps. It's a bit slow to react, but that's going up, and it's not the most accurate, but 4 amps, so that's coming out my battery there. Now if I just unplug this one, we can go test, say, this one over here. You can also lock these out up at the top, which is quite handy, makes it easy to doing it one-handed. So that's plugged in, charging again, and then I'll go test the one around the corner. Again, flick up, holds in place, and then just slide that in, and we are charging again. The amp should start to go back up again. Slow to react. 4 amps. Wonderful. This means I can charge all of my camera gear. I've got one of those chargers here. We'll whack the batteries in it, charge it all up. Now, I definitely recommend picking up some decent high quality USB chargers, as they're very important, because we tend to rely a lot on our phones these days and use them for navigation, for like navionics and get Savvy Navi. And it's quite important to be able to charge it in the cockpit, so having a waterproof charger is quite important, and also being able to charge things down below. And it's very important for them to be reliable, because on my last boat, Meraki, I picked up some cheap ones off Amazon, and 2 of them have just disintegrated or disassembled themselves, and when they do charge, they charge at about an amp. That's all I get out of them, and that amp is at 12 volts, which is what the lead batteries were at. And currently with the iPhone, I'm seeing about 2 amps of charging, so definitely much better than the 1 amp I had before. So hopefully this can keep my phone topped up, especially when it's using its GPS to keep tracking, because I can basically gain no battery on the old charger. So I'm very glad I have these now. So now I have a bit of peace of mind on this boat that I have decent phone charging and charging for the camera, so you guys can watch all of my adventures. So a big thank you again to Scanstrut, and you should see a solar panel episode coming up where we're going to be using Scanstrut's deck seals to actually seal the cables running to the solar panels. And it's going to be quite a cool install, because we're going to be using a similar 3D printed mounts that I've made before, just a bit of a bigger solar panel. So should be an exciting episode. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.